All right. We got a big challenge issued this morning to, get better this week. I thought, we've gotten better in some areas the last couple weeks. And so really, talked about really focusing on ourselves with walkthrough today and then 2 really physical practices the next 2 days to improve. And, we got a lot to work on. Gave up explosive play and a couple other passes that, they missed that were open. And we had a really poor day in the red zone and third down. So plenty to work on. These guys are a very disciplined team that they make you be really accountable on defense with an unusual system that we're not used to. Really trying to focus on really getting better and improving and maybe looking at different ideas too.
Cam and Jaden got SEC Player of the Week honors. Just obviously Jaden's a veteran of that group, but what are you seeing out of Cam in his second year on that side of the ball?
Yeah, I think that's exciting. He just did that walking in, that happened. I think because those guys deserve it. We made a big emphasis all week about, playing physical, winning the line of scrimmages in this game. And Cam did a really good job. And Jaden had a really hard matchup. That's one of the premier players in college football. A lot of times those guys usually play on your left side. They play him on your right side. So he had a big challenge and really answered the call and really played a great game. So that was great to see those guys be recognized for that.
We talked a lot about Keewan's explosiveness in the offseason, but did you know that he was going to have that break tackle and contact balance ability when you got him in the portal, or does that kind of surprised you?
Well, I think we knew, maybe not to this extent. We knew the speed, the size ratio, but also you can't predict how guys are going to improve or plateau, and a lot of that is once they get there, how they work. And he's phenomenal preparation. He's in here all the time. Very low ego, which is refreshing at that position. And he just wants to get better. And he's had a great year. He needs to take care of the ball. The ball was a little loose, almost came out. But he's doing a great job and really doing a great job in pass protection, being very physical.
I was wondering, real quick, now that it's Monday, has there been a fine hit your desk for throwing the ball? Did Sankey get to you?
He did not. We actually had a conversation, but he did not bring that up. So I don't think that's a policy or rule. But again, I was excited for our fans, for our student section that they were there early, 2 hours before, and it just means a lot to our players. And to see that in their energy, and they're standing the whole time, because when we watch our film, remember we watch end zone view, so we see the end zones all day long as we're watching the game film, and they're amazing. And so I know as a penalty those guys going and jumping, but it was just really cool. I think that our team is a really neat team. So it's why I say I would hope the games would sell out and people would show up, because I understand sometimes teams aren't that exciting to watch. I think we're really exciting, and I think our players play with a lot of passion, and so it's pretty neat.
And what can you tell us about the Citadel? I don't know much.
Like I said, really disciplined team. Defensively, they're multiple, do different things. Offensively, they really present challenge of your keys in the run game, and they do a really good job.
You probably don't want to answer this because you don't want to jinx it, but your team into mid-November here is, I guess close to mid-November, is pretty healthy. What do you attribute that to? Is a lot? I'm sure some of that is luck, but is some of that maybe what you guys do in the off season and that kind of thing?
Well, I think you guys know I don't come up here and just say, oh, yeah, we do this well, and because coaches want to sound good. I don't think that has to do with off season. I do think part of that is luck. With injuries in each year, it just happens. Sometimes you have better years, just like you have calls from the refs. Sometimes they go their way, sometimes they don't. I do think we, in general, stay pretty healthy. I think people would be really surprised. I'm not going to go into detail, but people would be really surprised how much we actually practice, how little we practice, compared to a lot of traditional college thinking programs.
That's something I know you've talked about this over the years, but is that something that you sort of picked up on elsewhere? Or is it something, a thought in the back of your mind that percolated over the course of your career?
Yeah, I think that's just a lot of things combined in there. Like I said, I take a lot from Coach Saban. I don't take that. But that doesn't mean it's right or wrong. I just see things differently. But there's probably something in there too. I think when, like how I tell you guys all the time, I really believe like all the things that happen to you happen for a reason if you're paying attention. And I think going to FAU, you couldn't practice. If you did, you're going to run out of your good players fast. So that's really where I started this. Okay, we're just going to play really fast, but we're not going to practice near as much, just for the wear and tear on the players. And so that's probably where I really started that direction. And then getting here, again, like I'm with you guys in honesty, when we got here, didn't feel like we had a lot of great players. And so if you get them hurt, you're going to go here to here. That's easier to do. At Alabama, you can afford some injuries. So that's part of it too.
Guess to that energy, atmosphere, environment, y'all get one more night game next week with Florida. I know you focus on Citadel, but just thoughts of getting to end the home season at night with that crowd.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's awesome to have another Saturday night in the stadium here. And I can't say, I think coaches a lot of times are whiny. We're whiny and we complain about things, but then when they go the direction that we like, they don't say anything. They just want to complain so everybody can, point to that. But we had I sent the commissioner in that conversation and sent a message, because I owe him a fishing trip or something for this year. 4 road games, none at night, 3 of the 4 at home at night this year. So I think that's awesome. I think, our analytics we go off of is after COVID because you didn't have crowd noise then and stuff. And I think it's 61% of SEC night games are won by the home team. So I'm kind of always hoping for that. So I think that's a really good slot. Again, it'll be about how well you play, but I can't imagine it's going to be really warm. So as much as I don't like that, it probably favors us versus the opponent's players and what they want to play in.
Questions? Coach, you talk about the little chill play.
Yeah, I can see why you wouldn't know because he was that open. That was really disappointing. We were in drop 8 cover 2, which should be a dead play in that, and really unfortunate. He was in the slot, which usually means a shot play, and we were yelling, and they didn't hear us. So that's really unfortunate. That should really be a dead play, and that's why I was really upset with it because great throw, great catch, but we handed them that by just not staying deep where we were supposed to be in the middle of the field.
What about Sellers kept looking for it later on in the game?
Well, I thought that we did do better. Probably was obvious if you go back and look. We just because our Golding knows a lot of the plays in the press box, and he says them, and I'm like, well, okay, that's great. You're telling me what the play is and the coaches, but they don't know out there the players. So I just said, kind of like maybe in high school or little league, little kids, I said, hey, when you know it's a shot, let's just all start pointing up and everybody back up. And so I know this is a complicated profession in the SEC coaching, but we just pointed up and our guys backed up.
All right, anything else for Coach?
Are you paying attention to tomorrow night, not just for you guys are, but for maybe the rest of the league is in terms of maybe assigning how much strength of schedule or strength of league is being weighed into that equation this year?
Yeah, I really hadn't thought much about that. This isn't coach speak. I really don't, because it's still so early and so much left to play. I hadn't thought about that, but probably that. would be the part I'd look less about where we are at and more of that, just to see, okay, are they actually going to pay as much attention that we were told they are going to now? And that was part of our going to 9 games in the SEC was, being told that this was changing and it was going to matter who you played and where you played and the environments and how hard the games are. So, we'll see. So that doesn't, would be really disappointing. And I know I'm in the SEC, but I mean, just as a college football person, if that doesn't matter. Now we're going to go to 9. That would be really unfortunate. And I just hope they get over the way that we've thought in football for so long, how they've thought, because the other sports think this way. The baseball, they don't say this many from this conference, and then all of a sudden you're going to the postseason in college baseball, and you see half the teams are in the SEC. So, the College World Series. So that's how our sports should be too. And I'm not saying that just because the SEC. There might be years that's the Big Ten, maybe, but it shouldn't be based off of it. I don't think there should be any automatics at all. If you figure out who the best team is, and if you can't figure it out, ask Vegas. They know. What would they make? I've said it before. What would they make if it's you two against each other, these two teams, put you on a neutral site and ask Vegas what the spread would be, and that would be who's considered the better team.
Coach, you got all this deal here, twist the ball, so that conversation.
Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to do that. I think if you do that, that would be part of the problem of what I'm complaining about, that the system is now.
Blade, kind of following up on that, just curious your
Because
thoughts.
the Vegas people don't care about that. They'll tell you who's the better team.